This is a special presentation of Keeping It Real with V&G, What Matters. Episode 44 is a replay of the District 2 Council community meeting that was held on February 15th, 2022 at the Harmon City Community Center in Maysville. So, this is a replay. So, if you have any questions or have any comments for us, please leave them in the comments below and we'll get back to you after the show. Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you for all of you for taking the time to come out tonight and hearing what the city of Mobile is doing, what we have been doing, the direction that we'd like to go. My name is William Carroll. I am the councilman for District 2 now. I am also the councilman for this area. This area was added to District 2 in 2010 with the last reapportionment and redistricting. I was not your representative the last time I was here for those of y'all that live in this area, but I am now. And I am happy to be your public servant. Before we get started, let me give you this telephone number. It's 251 251 404 4107. Again, 251 404 4107. That is my personal cell phone number. I answer it 24 hours a day. This lady sitting right here with the sweater on can't stand it because she says I'm too accessible. That's my wife, everybody. Where's she at? My wife. She says I am too accessible. But again, 251 404 4107. That is my number. If you need assistance, the other number is 251 208 7441. That is directly into that council office. And one of those three nice, pretty young ladies over at that table over there will answer it. And they will get any concern to me or out to the administration that needs to. That's Courtney on the right, my right. That's Jada in the middle. And that's Keisha on the left. A lot of you have already been hearing from Keisha dealing with incidents in our district and neighborhood as we've been going forward. Keisha is the mayor's liaison to the council, and she helps us get a lot of things done. Right here is Cassandra McAvoy. She's our communications guy. She handles our media. This is Anitra Bell. She is with the mayor's office. This is Jamie Roberts. He is over the neighborhood redevelopment program, which you'll hear about tonight. And this is Carly, my nice young lady, another young person we need at home. So as we get started, thank you all for coming. I'd like Reverend Flowers, if you would, to offer an invocation for us as we get started in tonight's meeting. And before you do that, I recognize our two judges, Judge Holmes Whitten and also Judge Shabani Coleman Hall. If y'all please stand up for me. I remember when these two first took the bench as full-time judges about 16 years ago. Watch out, now they're good people that do all the help they can for you. So, Reverend Flowers, if you would, please get us started with an invitation.
Let's pray. Holy God, we thank you for the beauty of this night. We thank you for freedom and the right to have a voice in our common life. We ask that you bless us in our listening and our learning. We pray for Councilman Carroll that he make wise decisions for your greater good. This we ask in your Son's name, Jesus.
Amen. One last piece of contact information. Email address is council2 at cityofmobile.org. That's council two, the number two, at cityofmobile.org. That will come directly to me also. I'll get back to you on it as quickly as I can. Moving forward. First on the agenda tonight, I'd like to introduce the neighborhood group that's been put together to get some things going and give them a chance to make a few remarks to you. That's Vernon Coleman and Greg Morris, and Greg, you're with you too, and everybody else. And Vernon, if you could just give everybody a brief statement about what the group is doing, the purpose, and the direction that you're trying to help take the Ripley area, area, Cherokee Street area, and what the goals are for that area, if you could, if you like to. Give everybody a little direction on where you're going with the Rickety area and your group, if you would.
Well, one of the biggest things that's wrong with the Rickety area is the lack of concern about what we have. Every day I pick up a 5-gallon bucket of trash that people throw around the park. It's not people that live there, it's because the people come from outside the area, come there and eat, just stuff like that. I pick up baby diapers, and people, if women change the diapers, they throw the diapers out the window. Every morning I pick up a 5-gallon bucket of trash from Benell Street to Palmer Street on Ripley Street. Every morning, 5-gallon bucket of trash. That's uncalled for. How can we improve if we continue to do the things that are detrimental to our neighborhood? So we can't rely on a school to fix everything. Parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, and friends, they have to step up and correct the wrong when you see it. That's the only thing that's going to help us. That's the only thing that's going to help us. You have to be involved in do things that are designed to improve where we are. You know, if we remove our property from on the other side, over the side of the country, all of our property values would go up. Why? Why? Because they take care of the neighborhood. If we did the same thing on the south side of Government Street, we could improve our life also. So it's up to us to do what we can to improve where we are. If you don't do it, you're going to continue to have trouble, you're going to continue to have shooting, you're going to continue to have all the problems that are associated with neighborhoods and our neighborhood. So I hope all of you do.
We want to work with the community to help the community. And Mr. Coleman's group's purpose with Mr. Morris and everybody else is to do that, is to help the community. As we move forward with helping the community, he's asking over and over again what's happening with the streets in the Rickety area. Tonight we have with us Nick Amberger, and Nick's going to talk to you real quickly about my paving plan that we have for Rickety, Cherokee Street, and the areas around Rickety Park. So, Nick, if you're close, please take the mic.
Sorry, I was late. I attended your next week's meeting and next month's meeting together, okay? My name's Nick Amberger. I'm your city engineer. I work for you. One of the jobs of my department is to put together the research programs. Is about in 2019, 2019, we did a full-wide city assessment by a third party that specializes in doing street assessments. It wasn't Nick's opinion, it wasn't Councilman Carroll's opinion, it wasn't Mayor Stimpson's opinion. It was a company that specialized and has some highly sophisticated equipment that drove every single street in the city of Mobile and graded it all. And then from that, we used that information that came from that study to work with the elected officials to pick the streets that get resurfaced. And so the streets that are coming is basically the entire, you can see it on my phone here, but it's basically the entire area that's kind of considered the Rickety area. So it's bounded by over to the west of Holcomb Avenue, and then it's, basically down to my Government Street, Dolphin Island Parkway, and then Hall's Mills. So, sorry, it's just on my phone, and I'm happy to show it to anybody. But it is actually online. You can get on the city's website, and look up the capital improvement program, and you can see it. Now, what you've got in that area, I'll tell you, you got a lot of concrete streets. So what you'll see, you'll see some repairs done first, little spot repairs, and then we'll come in and we'll also address all the ADA ramps on the corners of the streets. So when we go in there, we resurface streets now, or when we pave streets, we address all the ADA ramps, and then you'll see an overlay of the concrete with asphalt. We've done the same thing on a couple of other streets in recent years, had very good luck with that. To dig them all the concrete and make them move, and it's millions upon millions of dollars. What in the Rickery area is about 5.4 center line miles of streets, or about 10 and a half lane miles of road. It's about $1.4 billion, which is being done. It's actually the largest amount of money in any one generalized area that we've spent on paving projects. So we're grateful that we have those size of funds to be able to come in there and do entire areas. Councilman Carroll's on the council before, a $1 million project would then the entire city council budgets for the entire city. So to do it in one area is just we've come leaps and bounds what we've been able to do in the past. So, we'll be coming if you want time frames. We'll probably be letting this project in the next, probably say 2 to 3 months. So we'll probably be potentially late summer, or in the fall before we do it. When we let a project like this, it's a big project. So it won't be just that neighborhood area. It'll be an entire project for the entire city, probably upwards of $8 to $10 million. And it generally takes us, 8 to 12 months to execute the entire thing. When it's done, and you have just so much of a better thing, because it's not just a street here or a street there. I mean, it's block after block after block. And what we try to do is kind of make it feel like the community's coming back together from an infrastructure standpoint.
Nick, specific question.
Yeah.
Is Rickaby Street on that list?
I'm sorry, it has to be, John.
It is.
Yeah.
Cherokee Street also on that list? Okay. Okay. We've got some specific questions. Now, some of you, I don't know your names yet. I promise you I will memorize them, your addresses, and where you live, because you are here. So some of these people I know already. So Wimp, I see you. So go ahead.
Yeah, we talking about the street. Yes. There's a county, we got no street there called Michigan Avenue.
No.
County, I mean, nobody's in the same. We got the Big Broad Street as a program to, I understand that's a program to test and Airbus and all that. Fix that, fix pretty good. Then you go to Ann Street, which was small, I mean, tiny street. We got all that in Baltimore Street. Fantastic.
Michigan is not nothing about that.
I counted the head.
Well,
I've been there 50 years.
can I say something? Currently, CJ and I are teamed up on a TIF project for Michigan Avenue. Help is coming. Now, I just got back. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's coming.
See, why I'm so feel so forgotten about is that this brought this up as bad. This is one man promised that to us that he was going to do. And the railroad track, I ain't cool. Railroad track. You got a railroad track now. You have to take drive on the railroad. Now, Michigan Avenue is out there. Exactly how some work there. Maybe if you say that, you got no having the money. I'm not college, but they're on the call. They might be up there.
Glad we're calling it out.
First of all, anything in the railroad right away has to go through a mixed approval process with, I think it's CSX and the railroad authorities, because of air rights and all the railroad requirements. That project budget right now is a $30 million project to fix the rail in Michigan Avenue at that point. But we are working. Believe me, you all, because Michigan Avenue is becoming if not one of the prime routes in the city because of future development. So it's being looked at. Now I can't promise you.
I think you think that for him, but he's thinking about it. But what you can't, I live on this off this man. I ride that street every day. Every day. And if something is wrong, that's a thoroughway. You got folks going from Government Street to Brooklyn Street, straight to the end of the street. Everybody, they mix it. And it's very difficult to ride without that. And you got every railroad track between, I see it when we go cross it at the loop. You got to fix that, you never go cross it.
You're exactly right. So what we're doing, if you come to my office, all over the wall, we'll show you. We can look at that. Councilman Carroll says it's about a $30 million effort. And so on those larger projects, what we do is we work with the county commission with the pay to go program to fund them. So all of these projects, some of these bigger projects that you've been seeing streets, there are a couple of 3 bids. So Michigan is one, I can assure you, it's on everybody's right trying to get. So but you heard loud and clear. We agree with you 100%.
I'm coming. Yes.
Dublin, yes, from Dawson to
It's going to be from Dawson to
Houston.
Dawson to Houston. Tell you what, if y'all want to know if your street is in there, if I have your email address, I'll send you a list of the streets by end of the day Thursday. That way we can speed this up. If you're asking about your streets, I will send you a list. If you gave me your email address today, I'll send you a list by the end of the day Thursday what streets in this thing will get paid. Is that okay? Okay, and then if it's a future street, then I can also give you a link to our capital improvement website that gives you a date and projection time of when the future street will be paid. Okay? Does that answer most of the questions? Ms. Banks?
Yes, ma'am. So what we do now, again, because of better funding, we can do one of these research projects. We take it as far as we can. So if there's broken inlets, tops that are broken, or if there's stuff that's just lack of maintenance, we try to correct all that. So it's not just a researching project. It's the handicap ramps that are put on the corners. It's fixing some of the egregious sidewalk stuff. I can't guarantee that I'll fix the drainage, but if it's something that we know about and we can look at, we'll certainly endorse something like that and try to make that happen.
We can take some more of these questions later on as we get into it. I like to work most of the agenda so we can get a lot of information out. Next up, we have a redistricting presentation. Anitra, if you would take care of that for us. Now, you all know that redistricting and reapportionment has been a hot topic in the city, and it's been going and going and going. The mayor gave us a presentation. There was a lot of conversation on it today. Hopefully, there'll be a lot of conversation on it in the future. I think that we got off to a good start, but we haven't gotten to the end of this yet. So we're looking to make sure that in the inroads that we make it even better. Anitra, if you would, please.
Henderson, I'm your executive director of SMIG that does roads and streets and construction. On the other side is the people side of government. So that is what I manage over community outreach, economic development, workforce development, and making sure that we are communicating to you. And so what Councilman Carroll wanted me to do is just talk a little bit about redistricting. What is it, the process, and where we are currently. So every census calls for us to do some form of redistricting of their portions. And so we had the 2020 census. Back in 2019, 2015, and 2017, we were about 192,000 people in the city of Mobile. The 2020 census came back and we are at 187,000. So we lost population in the city of Mobile. But where we did see growth, where we did see growth is District 6 and District 7. And so there was a shift of people. And so what has to happen is we have to take that 187,000 people, divide it by 7, because we have 7 districts, and we have to balance the population. And so District 7, because of the census, had 30,000 people. So when you divide the 187 by 7 districts, we get a mean of about 26,600 people, give or take. Every district is not going to be completely even. So there's a mean of either 6% above 26,000 or 6% below 26,000. And so that is what we're trying to do. Now, there are some rules that we have to have once we receive the census. The mayor puts together, calls the city attorney and puts together a team to do redistricting. That consists of our GIS department, which is our geographic information system. So they put the maps together and they actually do the tabulation of these boards with the demographics on it. And then also an attorney. So we chose Jim Rossler, who was the former city council attorney who has gone through the redistricting process twice before to help us with this process. And so what we will talk about a little bit tonight is actually how we got to where we are. So what you will hear through this redistricting process is models. This is a modeling system. This is 2.8 you're looking at. What's in your toolkit is 2.5. So it continuously changes as they're trying to do the models. So some rules that we have to abide by, one is the Zombie Act. That is our act by the state legislation for our form of government. So for our 7 city councilmen and our mayor, that is our form of government. And then we have to abide by the Voting Rights Act. So we cannot, if a district is majority minority, it has to stay majority minority. We cannot break, crack, or fracture a neighborhood. So we can't break up a neighborhood in half and put it in another district. We have to make sure we do that. And then if we are moving a neighborhood into another district because of redistricting, we have to make sure that that councilman is involved in it. So for instance, if we are moving westward and we're moving from this part of District 2 into District 3, both District 2 councilor and District 3 councilor have to agree on the move in order for it to happen. It also cannot affect the Voting Rights Act or the zombie. So we have to follow all of those rules before we move any of these numbers. So what you're looking at here is draft 2.8. Both of them are draft 2.8. These are specifically the numbers. So I'm going to come on this side. When you come to look, what you will see in the gray is the census numbers. These are our 2020 census numbers. So this is 187,041. That's our total population. Right here is each district's numbers without doing any redistricting, without moving the lines. So as you can see, District 7 was at 30,704. This is Plan 2.8. So if Plan 2.8 is to go into effect, and they move the lines, it will move back to 27,726, because we have to get some population in order to balance the population. That is what this top part is. It's also broken down into ethnicity. So you have the existing Black population from the census, and then you have the existing Black population if we go with draft 2.8. At the bottom is voting age population. So that is everyone over the age of 18 that can vote in that district. So as you see here, even though there's 30,704 people in District 7, there's only 23,719 people who can vote in that area. It is also broken down into ethnicities as well. So that is currently 46.7 white, 46.7 Black voting age population in District 7. And then if it went to draft 2.8, it would go to 50.56. So those are the numbers. What we did in that toolkit that you have is frequently asked questions. We went out into the community prior to starting this modeling process and asked those questions. The biggest question that was asked is, does this process affect our schools? No. So the school system has their own redistricting that they do. The city does their own, the county does their own, the state does their own. So this redistricting process only affects our 7 city council districts. The other one that we were asked is this the final? No. As you can see at the top, it is the draft. Now what has happened is the administration starts the modeling process. By February the 12th, the mayor has to put an ordinance on the agenda, the city council agenda, for the city council to start their process. So we did 7 community meetings, we did a virtual town hall meeting, and now 2.8 was the last draft that went to the city council. It was on the city council agenda today. City council has up to 6 months to model and decide on a final draft. If they do not come to a consensus, the last draft that they have put together is the one that will go into place. So they have up to 6 months to do community meetings and public hearings. So they need to hear from you if there needs to be some changes. So what you have again in your toolkit is 2.5. So those numbers have already changed. I think 2.8, the difference in 2.8 and 2.5, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, stop for just a second.
Okay.
There are no more drafts. Stop using the word. The ordinance was submitted to the council last Thursday, so it's not a draft. 2.8 is real. That is what was presented. Right now, 2.8 shows 50.56% in District 7, and then that's where the contention is that I'm hearing from people in our districts right now, that they feel like that percentage in District 7 does not make District 7 a sustainable district when it comes to minorities. What the balance is that everybody isn't hearing is that the disparity between 2010 and 2020 is 23,000 people of color. That's the difference. 23,000 people of color. That's one council district that's unrepresented. That's the imbalance. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the imbalance. That's what we are hearing. That's what others in other districts are hearing. Now, to get there, everybody must be of one accord and has to share in the responsibility. That means that all 7 council members must be willing to accept a change. And sometimes not everybody's willing to accept the change, so certain census tracts that are eligible to move don't move. Now, that's the truth. That's the truth. Now, we can get there, but we're just not there yet. Now, the number that's there, we have a higher voting population than what we did. I think we started out at 48.6 or 46.4, but now we're at 50.6, 51%. You know, it's a great start. We've never been here before. We've done something nobody's ever done in the city of Mobile before and show that at least we have the courage to go there. But what are we scared of? Why can't we go all the way? What are we scared of? Why can't we go all the way? And that's been the contention. That's been the contention in this. So the hope is that with the council now having this, is that we can find some caring within the 7. Today, if you go back and listen to the council on YouTube, you're gonna see that everybody is in a whole bunch of directions, and 1 or 2 or 3 of us have some real stern positions that have been taken. I mean, you get to see where some of the true thinking is when you see today's council meeting. So hopefully over the next 6 months, we can get there. Now, in my mind, we don't have 5 votes to pass one thing, any one way or the other right now, which possibly means what the mayor submitted may just become law. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. And that's where the contention is right now. Okay. We're a majority black city. We should have majority black representation. The 14th Amendment of the United States calls for 1 vote, 1 person. That's the one thing that's being overlooked.
I'm wondering where I'm hearing the 53%, 52 to 53% as a desirable percentage in district government. Is that a percentage that's been suggested by federal outline or state outline, or where's that?
I haven't. None of us have suggested a number. The sustainable number that I've seen came from the Southern Poverty Law Center. That letter was sent to the city of Mobile and everybody else, urging them to do what was right. That number was 52%. And that is a sustainable number, and that was given by somebody that knows a whole lot more than we do. Yeah, any others? Any other questions? Okay. Yes, ma'am. I don't know your name. Tell me so I can remember. Miss Susan Smith? Ruth Smith. Hey, Miss Smith. Well, the good news is that in this approach that the administration has taken, there was no gerrymandering. None. Matter of fact, I was so emboldened to try to get the numbers up that I wanted to gerrymander through Crichton so that we could get the numbers up. But I couldn't break the law, so that's no gerrymandering's been done, no packing, no cracking. Everything's on the up and up. In District 2, though, there's been some subtle changes. We've moved west to Glenwood, and we're moving south to Hertel Street, all the way up to DIP and back down to Government Street. CJ, who is our council president, who did join us, who's over here on the far right, traded with me to ensure that the District 2 numbers went back up above 60%. So that is to help ensure that District 2 will continue to have the representation of the population. It's not about me. It's about you. The more they hear your voice, the more calls you make, the more you stand in front of City Hall, the more you, the people. This government is about you. If you stand up. The biggest thing that I keep hearing from another council member is guess what? Black people don't vote anyway. We heard that today, didn't we? We heard that last week, didn't we? That is the one thing I keep hearing. Now, we're going to stand up and vote. That's the problem. Stand up and vote. Get mad and go to the polls. It takes us to get angry about something to go to the polls. It's time to vote. We're not voting. They know that, listen, people know the voting patterns. We get outvoted 2.5 to 1. We got a district that has 60% one way, 40% the other way, but it comes down to a 50 or 150 point disparity on election day. That means we're not going to the polls. Yes, sir. Hey, Mr. Thomas, how you doing? Yes, sir. And I promise you, over the next 3 years, voter education, voter registration, I need y'all talking to your kids, your friends. If they're not registered, get them registered. Yes, sir.
The main reason why people are discouraged from voting is because we have post-voter suppression. When they get in office, we haven't had a meeting like this in our community until now. It's been about 3 years. So we haven't seen nobody from the state. Sister Barbara Drummond, she don't have meetings in our district. Vivian Figures, we don't see her. So this discourages the youth from voting because they get no representation. And that's why they're not voting. But you coming out doing what you do, more people are gonna come out and vote because they see you working for the people.
Yes, sir. Are we good right here for right now? We good. All right, next on the agenda tonight is, yes, ma'am.
Before we move, I just cannot sit here and be moving and say this is the first time we had a community meeting like this. On the Mr. Nancy, we had a community meeting right at the Bayside Baptist.
Yes, ma'am.
We had community meetings. Voice our opinion, so no.
True Vine too.
Okay.
That's not true.
We had a True Vine too. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure of that.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't misspeak.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure of that. But look,
So they have them, but people aren't invited.
well, I promise you, every time we have a meeting, you will get a postcard. It'll be posted on my website. You'll see it on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. You'll see it everywhere, so you'll know to be here. Okay. A lot of y'all stop by your houses, let you know so you can tell your groups. All right. Go ahead. Come on, man. Next up is a guy named Jamie Roberts. He is over neighborhood redevelopment. He does CDBG. He does the land bank. He does NRP. He's going to talk to you about blighted properties, the land bank, how to purchase from the city, and how to go about getting other things from the city to help us get going. Yes, Ms. Violetta. You got to yell, Ms. Violetta.
She made it.
Communication. The city, the councilmen need to hear from you. You guys, the opposition, the people that don't like it, even me, you need to be emailing every day. You need to be calling on the phone. Our email addresses are simple: council1 through 7 at cityofmobile.org. If you want to email a specific councilman, you put council, his district number, at thecityofmobile.org. If you want to call, use that telephone number I gave you. Call it. But they need to hear from you so that they understand what the people are wanting. A lot of times we just hear, well, it's my opinion. I heard that today a lot. My opinion. It's not about me, it's about you. That's why I always say, I serve the people. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you can email any councilman in the city of Mobile. And if you have a problem with anybody, you can email them direct. Council 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at cityofmobile.org. Jamie, if you would.
Thank you. So what I handed out, obviously didn't make my copies. It was on that damn wagon. It's front and back, but every version of my pages, so I flip back and forth. One is for individuals and one's for businesses. These are the neighborhood development department program we have for each type of group in our realm. So I'll walk through this, and then that's probably the easier way to do actually one neighborhood real program, so you can keep talking about that one directly. But the vast majority of funding we get for these programs is from the federal government. Most of it comes from HUD, and recently these are matched in the Treasury Department. But the Leaving the Legacy program, number one, the individual based side, and at the top of the income from the chart, so you see family side, 1, 2, 3. most of our programs are the bottom income limit, low income. But every now and then we have such demand, we have to limit the income to the extreme low income limits, just to make sure we can help those people more. But Leaving Legacy is the will and estate planning program. That's a contract we have with Legal Services. So anybody that comes into any of our programs, any of our housing programs, we require them to have a will. But what we do is we coordinate with Legal Services to provide that service for free. A lot of the problems we have in lower income neighborhoods is air property. So we get to the property and we're researching it, I was digging through trying to find who owns property, 8 different people own property, somebody passed away 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The will is the future of blight remediation. So we're trying to take care of blight on the front end so it doesn't have issues for your kids. But that program is free as long as you meet the income bracket there. And again, if you come through for our rehab program, your down payment assistance is required before you get in those and take your application. Before we're completed, we need to have a will. Homeless prevention assistance, a lot of that is actually coming from U.S. Treasury funding. Rental utility assistance, it's being provided through Legal Services, Housing First, and Mobile Community Action. We're trying to hit enough nonprofits so that anybody coming through the program can come from one of the free nonprofits. So we didn't want to have it all concentrated in one location or one nonprofit, occasionally we're comfortable going there. So it's more or less a program on the east side of town between the three nonprofits. Again, income requirements apply, same income limits at 80% income at the low income minor there. First time homeowner down payment assistance program. That's the down payment assistance to help people get the gap financing they need to get in the house. So it's up to $10,000. So say they come into us and they have $115,000 from a first mortgage, and they do $125,000 to get to the house and close. We'll cover that $10,000. It also gives them down payment as far as if they do FHA loan, so their mortgage interest is lower and they can actually get it taken off later. If you don't have at least 10% of down payment, if the mortgage insurance is not 30 years worth, if you have 10% of down payment, you only have to do a set amount of time for mortgage insurance. So that'll fall off at some point if you have 10% down. Critical repair grant program, funding up to $10,000 per house is for owner occupied structures. And right now it's roofing only. We switched, we do some other stuff, but since pandemic, we've gone roof only. We may venture back into the other items, but right now we're only in. What we're trying to do with that, and again, feeding income restriction apply. What we're trying to do with that is secure the shell of the house, because that's the most vital, important part of the house. Got to keep water out, keep wind out, but also is one that affects the neighborhood. So if we do the roof, and the next program we paint, we get those covered, that takes care of the shell of the house, and tries to make sure the neighborhood is volunteer paint program, like I said, a coordination group, where that's funding through nonprofit volunteer labor. We provide the hard costs and pay for their management person. And they provide labor. Last year we had a group from Alpharetta. Typically it's been a local nonprofit coming in to do that. We had 150 volunteers out of Hypertown last year. Year before last, we were focusing on the Maine's zoning area, the rezoning area. Everybody was in rear feet. But then the pandemic hits, we actually had contractors come in and clean it up for us. But we'll be doing that again. Might be able to get a group in for spring break, but definitely get a group in for summer. Had to determine where the locations could be. What we were trying to do with all the programs like that is target around large projects. Right now we have maybe demolitions happening, new construction going on there, so maybe nearby this area.
Okay. Businesses.
Programs for businesses. So this is a program that's maybe 3 years old. Micro enterprise loan program. So if you have a business that's 5 or less employees, or you want to start a business that's 5 or less employees, this program is designed to be a barrier, to get rid of barriers that restrict you from getting work with the city. So if you need insurance, bonding, licensing, this is up to $2,500 in loans that converts to grants if you follow the office of supplier diversity plan to go to Bishop State, get some education on QuickBooks, how to maintain your business. We'll forgive the $2,500 back. And then we cover the class and everything. So it's a very good deal. We've got 8, I believe, contractors, college companies going through right now with Bishop State. They're set to graduate on the 22nd. So next Tuesday. So that's in conjunction with all this. The programs are, like I said, running for a few years. But it's the biggest piece for us to make sure the business becomes sustainable on the back end. I learned those soft skills related to a business as far as managing your books and maintaining your accounts. Community reinvestment program, that one works in conjunction with Carl's program, but it's separate. So the application is separate. There's no guarantee if you get her program that you get the other one. They needs to have some application. This is our light rehabilitation program. So, going back to Council Carroll's description of we do a blight. The city began a blight program about 5 years ago. We had a Bloomberg grant come in to design our system for us. What we do is every inspector in the city goes around, we set up teams with some interns in South Alabama, and they go around and look at every property in the city and assess the blight from the street. So if it comes up on the survey, it's eligible for this program to get exterior blight rehab funding.
Okay.
And we'll get some more funding this summer. Now we're out, looks like as soon as the survey is done, we'll have funding available, so it looks like June, July. But it's up to $20,000 on the exterior for the blight-related items. The survey they're answering yes or no questions on. If it says it has broken windows, that's the blight grant eligible item. If it says it has roof caved in, that's the blight grant eligible roof. If the windows are okay and the roof's bad, we can only pay for the roof because that's the blighted issue on structure. If anybody has any questions about any of these, you can get those.
I've got one.
We've seen housing structure in the city. We look at it every year.
Now, she's been in a situation, she's gone downtown to get help to fix her house. That's all she is, 1602 Bell Street. She's a single and she doesn't bring help. Now, she's been down there. And I don't see how you been ill, how you don't see the condition. She's been in, plus she's gone down. And y'all trying to go away.
So it's likely, I don't have our application from me, it's likely something came up on our application or she didn't submit all the required to have. A lot of that's dictated by us. We have to have certain documentation or we can't go forward. But for if it's owner occupied, which is referred to as a very grant program.
Okay. So, look, some of the things in the past about paperwork, when we didn't have proper paperwork, we have people that can help you get the paperwork right. That we need to make that clear, Danny. I mean, we have people that can help you get it right when you go through the process. So if something's missing and he tells you it's missing, or we say it's missing, then please let us know so that we can get you some help. The other thing, Jamie, is I haven't heard you tell them yet how if there was an empty piece of property next door to them and the city owns it, how they could buy it and put it back.
We're getting that, but as far as the probable application cycle she came through, or the process, what we do is we take full application, we don't accept applications unless they're at least appear to be completed. And if there's something missing, we'll mail them a letter saying here's the item you missed. But we take phone calls all the time walking through that for that information out. So we need to know the actual.
Who sits at a table said, we only want to do this, this, and this? Because really, when you go through our neighborhood, it's certain things that the people need. And they need it now. I mean, I know you got these little things here, but that's not really solving the problem that the issues that people are really having. And I thought that $58 million and all this other money will be coming to help our people.
So that's different funding, that's treasury funding. And most of that's going to develop the project. As far as what we can provide for programs, very restricted, especially when it comes to lead paint. So that's why we avoid painting properties unless we have volunteers. Essentially, they can use as long as the hard possible of $5,000. So, and then HUD actually made it a little harder last summer when nobody watched their pandemic. They made it really hard to pass the lead test. We avoid everything lead. That's how we come through. Let me get through a few more programs, hold for just a second, and then we'll take long. And probably just talk about it. So, as far as the programs for businesses, the enhanced performance incentive contract, that is a home funded program. We have 3 different grants. We have CDBG, Community Development Program, that's our bigger grant. We have a home grant, which is about $800,000 a year. And we get an ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant, which is strictly for homeless providers. But this one's funded by home. And it's incentivizing developers to come into lower income area neighborhoods where a lot of Carl's properties are, vacant lots, and trying to infill those lots with new houses that are then sold to low to moderate income residents. And again, that's the income limits on this. And the income limits are different on the two charts. The because of different grant types, has different calculations for grant types. When you're looking at comparing them, they're slightly off. And then the last one, new construction of rental property, such as main property, this could be a apartment complex at some point. We have approved through the city council Woodcock School property. We're working on acquisition on that, to redevelop that as single family housing for sale, not for rental. It's going to be similar to this, the way it works as far as the structure and process. That'll be 20 to 28 lots, and how many we get in there and list the lots that Carl's working on the side of that layout. And now to William Carroll's question. And Carl, she's going to talk about that renewal program stuff, how you guys do purchase property and everything else.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Carla Davis, and I'm a community development planner within the development neighborhood community of City.
Y'all know her dad, don't y'all? Y'all know her dad. He is a Williamson grad. He's from this community, reinvested, went to Cynthia. So I want y'all to know who y'all talking to. She is part of this family. Okay? Tell her what you're doing.
Carl Davis, they call me Bulldog. Coach Davis, Coach Williamson. I myself also a Williamson Lion. I graduated in 2005. I love this community, and I'm here for you. I just wanted to say that. So I'm excited to be here and talk to you tonight about the neighborhood renewal program.
So y'all know if y'all need help, y'all can call her dad.
Or me, I have business cards. You can contact me directly. So again, I'm truly excited to be here tonight to talk to you about our neighborhood renewal program. This is a great project. It's a great opportunity for the city and the citizens to come together, to work together, to eliminate life. So I prepared packages for everyone who's interested in our program. So I'll just briefly go over what's in the package, and afterward I can hand out the package to whoever's interested in the program. So the first document in the package is basically going to be a one-page summary of how to navigate through the program, which you need to do in order to be able to attain the property. The second document in the package is going to be a list of inventory that we currently have, and it's color coordinated. So the properties that are highlighted in green, we have clear title to, and we're ready to move forward with selling those properties. I have them here, I can hand them out, I haven't had them out yet. The properties in yellow are pending clear title. Those can take roughly 4 months to a year to obtain. Unless one of those properties pique your interest, we have a legal person on staff who can move that up and expedite that process. And then the third document in that packet is the interest request form, which is what triggers the process to sell the property. So I'll briefly go over the one-page summary, and then I'll answer any questions that you have, and I can pass out the packets that I have about those programs as well. So basically what you would do is you would contact the neighborhood development planner, which is myself, Carla Davis, and ask for inventory. I can email that electronically, or I can put it in the mail. That will show you the list of properties. The second thing I would suggest is looking at the properties. I always encourage people to ride by the property if they're local, so you can see what it looks like. So go on the website and Google it. We have an interactive map on the city's website, so you can go and click on the property and see history about the property. You'll know when it's zoned. You'll know whose district it's in. So just get familiar with the property so you know how to move forward with the best property for yourself. After you identify the property you're interested in acquiring, you submit an interest request form to myself. You can mail that in or you can email it. Typically, when I get emails, I send the interest request form along with the application as well as the list of properties that we have. So you have all that up front to review. Yes, I will.
Assuming they're new titles.
The properties that are going to be highlighted in green, we have clear title to, and we have ownership.
But they're new titles, right?
Whenever we acquire the property.
So are they still in the right of redemption?
No, they're not. That's a different process. When we have legal staff who clears the titles and stuff, there's no restrictions behind them, they're good to go.
Okay, you can sell the property the next day.
Once you purchase from us, if you redevelop the property, it's yours, you can sell it.
So there's no right of redemption.
Yeah.
quiet title kills the right of redemption.
Did you repeat that?
Quiet title kills the right of redemption. It was done by Larry Wedmore in my second term after we established the land bank. It's one of the things we fought for in Montgomery. There's been some corrections to it since then by Jamie and everybody else that's made it easier. But Mobile has a unique program. Montgomery's even asked us to come up there and talk to them about how we did it. And Birmingham. I've only done Montgomery since I've been back in office. So, but they've asked us how we've done it. You know, we're special. We're ahead of the curve here. This is an opportunity where we, the people, can actually acquire blighted properties in our neighborhoods and restore them. This is a beautiful project if we take advantage of it in our own neighborhoods. Ms. Davis, floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, we are very passionate about this program because he is tough because we're very involved, so we thank you for that. So everyone has a packet, so I can start over. Okay, well, I have business cards, I can hand out, you can email me, you can call me, however we move forward, so I can let you know.
Is it online?
Yeah, because that way they can go for it in the program.
251-208-6294 is the main line.
Is the packet online?
The actual interest request form is online, but typically because our list updates so much of our property, you just email me and I can send you on current executive.
Okay.
251-208-6294.
And that's for all the housing programs, including.
Let's follow it. We didn't
Go for everything. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions about neighborhood redevelopment? Zane?
James on Glendale subdivision, on the critical repair program, it's a very much advantage. But it used to be a part of that program, $20,000. But every time I got to see some of our old and we got a little fair cost. Would that be?
It's likely not. Again, the lead regulations have changed since then. But when we also used to do nothing but loans to homeowners and grants to developers. We don't do loans to homeowners, but we get grants to homeowners and loans to developers.
So once you went to the critical repair program, like for instance for the roof, you cannot go back to the program again for something else.
If we open up the program, those other items, till the pandemic happened, we did HVAC, plumbing, electrical also. If we open the program, those other items, you can connect with the other items.
I just want to say thank you because the new roof is working out good.
Zane, just a commercial break. They extended that contract by your house on the containers. The administration said today that they were going to have an answer by the end of the day. I don't have it.
I heard December.
No, March 16th is what they're saying, but I have asked that they move it all to the very rear of Last Stadium instead of it being next to your house, Ms. Wells' house. I think that's Robert's house over there too. I haven't learned everybody in that street yet, but I've asked them to move it so it's not rattling your house all night, every night. These are the people I was talking about today in council. That's their houses that were rattling with those containers coming from Walmart off the court. So I've got some help. I won't know all the answers until sometime tomorrow. Ricardo's working on it along with, who else is working on it? Huh? Jim and Ricardo, Jim DeLapp and Ricardo. So I'll have a better answer for you tomorrow. I know you're going to ask questions, so I want to let you know before you.
I was on the line, but that easy. I'm trying to get you involved. I know you're working on it.
I'm working just as quick as I can, and I'm sorry about this contract extension.
You realize every time they drop them trailers on the ground, all the money they spend on that walking trail is not tracked, right?
Well, Zane will handle it when I can get to it, but right now I'm trying to get it away from your house. Anything else about neighborhood redevelopment? Yes, ma'am.
I'll have like a first-time homeowner down payment assistance program. Is there any, on the application process there, is there any restriction on the geographical location of the property you're trying to purchase?
It has been in city limits. Actually, there's two different programs run at the same time. There's the HUD program that has been in city limits. Separate of that, there's treasury funding for down payment assistance, and we're focused on frontline healthcare workers, teachers, and low to moderate income people, so same income limits. Those are QCTs, which are qualified citizen transfer and IRS designation. A lot of these out of town qualifies, you have to send us the address and talk about, see if we can check it for
But
you.
there's not any like restriction about like, well, I just tell you, I met a young woman, in District 2. She had gone to try to get this kind of assistance, and she'd been told that she had to purchase property way up in West Mobile. They did not offer this.
No, our program doesn't restrict that. Maybe the realtor targeting, pushing her, which is not us. If you can give me her information, check them out, that's legal, if that's the case. Our programs are city, restricted city limits to the city funding. County separately has a down payment program, so they basically pick the house in the county, so they got set for county administrators.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Clue, Mr. Clue's been quiet all night.
I live in a home that was built in 1940s, and there's no insulation. I bought the house with I think it was asbestos. I had to have all that moved and everything. So the position I'm in, I've never been on public assistance. I worked, and everything I try to get help with, they tell me I make too much money, which to me is not, because I'm paying more for my insurance than I paid for my house when I was paying for my house, because of the square footage and the property value. So I'm paying more now than I ever paid when I was buying the house. I finished paying for the house 15 years ago. But my problem is everything I try to get help with is income based. What are the limitations?
Yes.
Do they have anything in place for single old folks?
We don't, ours is need based, it starts with income, within income, we do check, make sure we're helping seniors in the same person with income brackets, but it's gonna be income based.
So until then, I have to stay in a cold house.
There's just not enough money to go around. Now, Mobile Community Action does run HUD's weatherization program locally, so we'll check with them.
That's income based too.
Reverend, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Barry. I thought you look like.
What? Carbon. So that doesn't directly affect us. I will say the homeowner association now is very strong. So if you try to change building code, problem can happen. But we have shifted toward looking at the buyer of the house, and we've gone to hurricane fortification on buying, which helps insulate extra also. So we're looking at lease up something.
One last one. I need to get the police in tonight too, because I want to talk about gunshot detection, crime in our area. I want y'all to meet the two judges, the police chief, and I also want you to meet the precinct commander for this area. Yes, ma'am.
What about the senior citizen? They need rent and not no money, they have a law. What about the money?
He talked a lot about money available through CDBG and other processes that are available to you based on financial need and need. Yes, ma'am, this free money.
Yeah, if you get it from us, your homeowner, if you get it from us and your homeowner, it's gonna be free.
Yes, ma'am. one of the things I learned when I was running that a lot of times money is short. We get 1,000 people to apply for $300,000. That doesn't go very far. So, we got to find a way to make programs larger. I've got a problem kind of with the way the CIP is set up. I look to change a little bit of that so we can find a way to get additional money into the program. I mean, we have a surplus right now of $115 billion. $67 million of that is unbudgeted, just sitting there. $67 million just sitting there, but we got to so I'm looking to find a way to get some of the council members to team up with me so that we can make a change in this year's budget cycle, see if we can get more money out to the people. All right. Chief Prime, and all you team, and please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Just Paul Bryan. I'm the recently appointed chief of police. Been with the Mobile Police Department for 25 years. And so what I'll do quickly is, because we take fighting crime seriously, I had the entire executive staff from the precinct commander all the way up to me here tonight. So I'll introduce everybody to you. So the really handsome young guy right here, this is Captain Lee Lafitte. Lee Lafitte is your precinct commander currently at Virginia and Broad. So he is in charge of the strategies that we use to fight crime in this particular area. He was recently promoted, and right now he's doing a phenomenal job. We'll talk about crime in just a minute. To his right is the new appointed assistant chief of police. He's been here 28 years, and so he was recently appointed. To his right is commander of criminal investigations, and this is Major Linda Timms, and she's in charge of all the major crimes that you hear going on. Sometimes you see on the news in terms of shootings or unfortunately homicides we have, and that's certainly her wheelhouse. And to her right is one of the executive officers in my office, and that's Ms. Joanne Watson. And so they'll all be here for a few moments after the meeting. If you have any complaints or specific things you want the police department to investigate or look into, see Ms. Watson, and she'll take the dictation down, and we'll make sure first thing in the morning that it goes where it needs to go. So a little bit about what we're doing. We're using what's called intelligence-led policing. And so just kind of in a nutshell, it sounds a little fancy, but I'll tell you what that means. In years past, when I first started my career, we would come to work. I worked here at one point in the first precinct. And, the supervisors would tell you, hey, get 10-8, service your calls, and keep the crime down. And it was kind of generic. Well, now for the last 9 years, what we've been doing is analyzing, and that's what the precinct captain does. Week in, week out, he analyzes the crime data coming in. And so now we can be a little bit more laser focused on what we're doing and where we're doing it. So, for example, what does that mean? If you're having auto burglaries here in Maysville, 4 or 5 block radius, and it's between midnight and 4 in the morning, it does us no good to tell a patrolman that comes to work at 6 o'clock at night, hey, you're having vehicle burglaries over in Maysville, go deal with it. Now we can tell those precinct supervisors and those line officers, hey, we need you in this particular area between this time and this time. It's a really successful program. When I was the captain in the 3rd precinct, we actually reduced crime using that methodology over about a 2.5-year period, and we were very successful with it. To say the least, certainly Councilman Fred Richardson's point at that time was certainly elated and glad that we were over there. And so we kind of waned from it in recent years, but with my appointment, that's exactly what we're doing. So we're being laser focused. We're moving into all things technological, certainly cyber. And although we can't really get into a lot of our capabilities, it is at the forefront of what we're doing combating crime. So you heard Councilman Carroll mention ShotSpotter. Well, that's what it's called in Baltimore, Huntsville, and some of the other places. We're getting away from ShotSpotter. We're calling it Operation Echo Stop. And there's a reason behind the name, but ShotSpotter is the gunshot detection program only. And of course, I wouldn't tell ShotSpotter this, but they've been very unsuccessful because all it does is tell us the general area where the shot's coming from. Well, for the most part, we already know where the shot's coming from because somebody's already called and we're going there. So what we ended up doing was putting some contingencies in place. And the first thing is prevention. So the mayor has hired a coordinator, a liaison, if you will, between the police department and to coordinate with our troubled youth in the schools. And so we have partnered with the school board. And so some of these troubled youth that we're having, maybe they act out on social media, maybe they say, hey, they put something out there that says, I'm gonna shoot up Williamson or something like that. What we are allowed to do now is work with the school system and intervene on that. So this coordinator that has recently been appointed by the ARP funds and being paid by the ARP funds will now coordinate, intervene with that youth, with the school system and the parents to try to find some type of help and remedy. So what does that mean? That means that we already have mental health facilities such as Alta Point and the like. But if you don't have somebody coordinating that help, what good does it do unless people seek out the help for themselves? And a lot of times they can't do that, right? So then we also have the police department. We have what's called a FIT team, fitness or the family intervention team. And these are counselors. And so when we identify troubled youth, it allows us to go in with certified counselors and be able to talk with kids and parents to try to find them help. This coordinator is going to be at the forefront of that. So the idea of the prevention piece of this Echo Stop is that we're intervening in the area of in ages of this age group where we're seeing a lot of the violent crime. So rather than waiting for the gunshot, we're actually going out into the schools and we're trying to intercept it. And that's just a small portion of it. A large part of it is compliance. Well, what does that mean? We take in a lot of guns with the Mobile Police Department week in, week out, month in, month out. So before returning those weapons, we're making sure that, if you get stopped or your weapon is taken because it was in a vehicle that maybe your nephew let his friend drive the car, and we take that weapon, before we return that weapon to anybody in the community, we're going to make sure that they have a lawful right to possess and own that gun. And if they don't, they will not get that weapon back. A lot of times, those are the weapons that are turning up in the hands of the bad guys, if you will. Another part of the Echo Stop is the messaging. That's what we're doing tonight. We want you to know that it's out there. The entire program costs about $3.5 million. The good thing is it's paid for through the CARES Act or the ARP funding that the federal government has provided to try to slow violent crime. So that's a great thing because it allows us to deploy a system that otherwise we typically don't have at our disposal, okay? There's a large part of it. Another part of that is the surveillance system. So what we've done is partnered with Alabama Power. So we are strategically placing the gunshot detection part that is ShotSpotter in a certain area of town. We haven't disclosed where that's at. I can tell you it's where we're seeing a large portion of the shootings right now. What I can tell you is that the camera systems going in place have the ability to record, okay? So when the shot detection goes off, cameras in a certain area are designed and they're specifically located on major corridors where we can record either people or vehicles coming in and out of the location where we've determined the gunshot has taken place. That's very important. Now, I know there's been some concerns. I've already vetted some calls at the office. Well, are you going to be able to record neighborhood conversations? Well, let me tell you this. The answer is emphatically no, okay? The system, it does not record 24 hours, 7 days a week. What it is designed to do, the gunshot detection records at a decibel that only a gunshot can be heard at. So somebody yelling and screaming in the neighborhood does not automatically turn on the system. A firecracker is distinguishable because of the decibel range that it goes off at. So the system is only designed to record at the moment the gunshot's heard, and then only for a moment moment in time thereafter until such time it's not recording anymore. So that's what we need you to understand, and it's not so sophisticated that we're recording conversations. This stuff will be on telephone poles. You will not be able to discern where the gunshot detection system is at. However, you may see cameras going up around town, and that's what we want the bad guys to see is the cameras. Because the cameras in and of themselves can be a deterrent, and they are a deterrent in many cases. So there's a lot of moving parts. We're hoping, in a nutshell, to have it up and running by June 1st. At the soonest, you're probably looking at the first part of May, okay? So there's been a lot of talk about voting. I encourage you to vote. I am an avid voter and have been since I turned 18. But more importantly, what I also want you to do, get involved with the crime in your area. How do you do that? So you can go to the MPD website and you can look up Captain Lafitte. If you have email, sign up for his constant contact. He sends out a crime report on Mondays and Fridays that tells where the crime is in a particular area. That's important for you because if you're having burglaries on Belfast Street and you live on Belfast Street, that gives you an idea to start being more vigilant, locking your cars, locking your home, paying attention, watching out for your neighbors, okay? The other thing is signing up with nextdoor.com. And what you do is you punch your address in. It's a free application. You can do it on your home computer or on your phone. And you can talk to members in your own community about anything, and the police department cannot see it. What it does allow for you to do, because we're on Nextdoor, is allows for you to be able to send us a message, a private message that says, hey, we're having this problem over here on Belfast. Can you help us out? And so when you do that, the precinct commander and his staff at the precinct constantly monitors that, and they'll be responding back to you with updates, what they did or didn't find. So I can tell you that we have nearly 500 men and women on the department that are just as sincere and eager to solve crime as I am. And but I'm just going to be frank with you. I've been doing this for 27, almost 28 years. And if I can just be frank with you, you've heard it, and I'm going to say it ad nauseam. People, we can't do it without you. We're only one part of this whole crime fighting strategy. Now, the beauty of this crew tonight is that I enjoy coming here, and there's a large crowd here like this. One of the things that's disheartening is when I go to a community meeting, there's 4 or 5 people there. And we're going to give them 100%, but it tells me the community's not engaged. This tells me the community is engaged. And I want you to know that you can always file an anonymous report through the main police number. We have an MPD website on Facebook and other social media platforms. You can send a tip and it's anonymous. If the tip is right and the tip is viable and we go through it, trust me, we know how to make cases on it without ever bringing you in it. I always tell people all the time, if we always reported our snitches and told on them, we would never have any snitches. Okay, that's just how it goes. But listen, I would be remiss, and I would like to say last but not least, is just show some recognition certainly to municipal presiding judge, Judge William I'm sorry, and Judge Sean Holmes. And I say that because let me say this, and I always brag on if we can get circuit court to do the things and be steadfast that municipal court has done, we would be a lot further down the road where we are in terms of crime fighting. So what does that mean? During the pandemic, municipal court never shut down. They continuing on. They've been a big advocate for the Mobile Police Department. Unfortunately, on the other side, where all your felonies and your bad crimes happen in district and circuit court, we've had some problems getting the court system opened up. What does that mean? Well, currently, right now, somebody mentioned earlier about all the felonies in town. Well, let me tell you this, what should be troubling for everybody in this room, and it certainly is for me, is that there are over 130 individuals out on the streets of the city of Mobile currently today who are on bond for murder. Now, that's not just for the city, that's for the entire county. But, my argument's always been, what affects Mobile affects Pritchard, what affects Pritchard affects Mobile because we're neighbors. And so as we move forward, we have to understand we've got to push the court system to open. Everybody looks to the police department to solve the problem. We're going to tell you, that's what we do. We're problem solvers. But at the end of the day, there's only so much. We have to have your help in the community. We certainly have to have the court's help. One thing that we are doing, and I'll end it with this, I always sound like a good preacher. I usually got 3 or 4 closings, right? But one thing that we are doing, and we're trying to get it here in the next couple of weeks, is get an IDA's law passed in the State House in Montgomery. That was a young lady that was killed by an individual that was on bond for a violent crime. And he had been locked up, just maybe an IDA would still be here today.
Yeah, yeah.
So the idea is that there has to be an amendment to the Alabama Constitution. And the only way you can do that is through an amendment through legislation. We currently have that on the books today where we change the bond process. If you're if you commit a homicide, if you're accused of committing that homicide, you will not get out of jail until such time as you go to court. And I think that's reasonable not only for the defendant, but it's certainly reasonable for the community. So I know for time's sake, we'll have to cut it there, but thank you for allowing us to be here today. And if you will, feel free to speak to the staff before you leave. Thank you.
The floor is open for any questions, any concerns. One thing, I think we still do the hotspot, right? So if you have a hotspot in your neighborhood, Chief, please explain how to handle it.
Yeah. So what hotspot policing is, we already know where your hotspots are. That's what we do week in and week out. I can assure you, we know where your problem is, right? I can do. That's why from time to time we'll see drug operations over here in Mayfield, is because we're continuing to keep pressure on those bad guys who are creating problems in the neighborhood. Somebody over here had a question? Yes, ma'am.
How can you make sure that all the citizens actually know if a sex offender has moved to the neighborhood?
Website.
Right, so the state of Alabama certainly has it. The Mobile County Sheriff's Department has a website. Now, we used to have one, maybe Jim, we still got it? Yeah. So the police department has one. So you got the Sheriff's Department, you got the City of Mobile, and you got the state. And the City of Mobile, we keep up only with the city offenders that live in our city. Okay? When you look something up, though, you have to be mindful that if it says an offender lives in a place, it doesn't necessarily mean they live in a place. What we ask you to do is report it if you know they're not living in a place, because if they have not reported that they can move, then they have absconded. And what that means is the police department has to go outside of the warrant if they violate the terms of their parole or probation. And then we pick them up for reoffending and then we lock them back up. But the caveat to that is when they move, there are conditions where they move to, such as within a certain amount of distance of feet from a school, if you will. And so those things are very important. But you can go on to the city website, look about what's going on here. But that also should really be coordinated as well with the county and with the state. They should have their same offenders on there as well. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But that's probably a bigger problem than most people think it is. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
Hey. Yeah, but write it down. Don't expose yourself like that. Give it to us. We'll take care of it.
Well, that's just an area, and I just want to say, because the police is in that area, but when the police is on the front of Michigan Avenue, they're on the back side of Parchment.
Yes.
I can't come out my door, and people can't go to church without them out there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's an abandoned, that place, churches. Nobody, it's not a business there, and that's the hangout spot.
Well, that's duly noted, and we'll make sure that the right folks know about it. We have folks, officers out every single day, and that's what we do, is we send them to various locations to deal with those particular hotspots. In line with that, if I may add, I made a commitment 3 months ago, you may have seen it on the media, on the news, that You know, most violent crime that we're seeing, for the most part, is either the north side or the south side of Mobile. That's first and third precincts. My commitment to the community, and you fall within that commitment, is that I would backfill patrol. We are short. I'm telling you, and you'll probably see some things coming. Mobile Police Department, we are shorthanded more than we've ever been. There's a lot of reasons for that. But nevertheless, my commitment was to backfill patrol, because if you don't get on the front and try to prevent the crime, I can give Major Timms another 100 investigators. That's all we'll be doing is investigating. So we have to have officers in the field, and I am proud to say I have stuck with that commitment. We did a promotional transfer, and where a lot of individuals that were recently promoted to first line steps of supervision, they were moved to the field without any kind of notice of being moved, so we can backfill it. As of this Friday, we have the final transfer, which will conclude that, and for the first time in probably 12, 13 years, the first precinct, this area, will have 100% staffing with the first precinct Mobile Police Department. That is phenomenal. And I don't know how we got to that point. It doesn't matter at this point. But we were typically running about 60%. So as you can imagine, at 60% levels of personnel, officers, all they were doing was just servicing calls that were coming through dispatch. They were not stopping bad guys. They were not stopping cars, trying to figure out if they were going somewhere to commit a crime. You'll never be able to or prevent crime if we're not being proactive. And also just responding to calls certainly is not an effective way to do it. So the strategy was the backfield patrol. And I'm proud to say that's exactly what we've done, and that will be done as of this Friday, effective on the transfer. Yes, ma'am. Right, so that's a great question, and I'm going to answer it, unfortunately. But there are some crimes that are misdemeanors without getting into the difference between misdemeanors and felonies. It's a lot easier to arrest somebody on a felonious crime, felony crime, than it is a misdemeanor. On misdemeanor crimes, if the misdemeanor did not happen in the officer's presence, there's a few exceptions, DUI, domestic. But if it didn't happen in the officer's presence, then the victim or the person that witnessed it is incumbent, or the burden is on them to follow up and go sign the warrant. The problem we have routinely is people like, well, I don't want to get that far involved. Well, if in your case, my thoughts would be the officers responded, they detained the individual. The individual didn't have the gun at the time. There was nothing that said that they could put him in jail, and without a complaint, and without a complainant or somebody to go sign the warrant, our hands are completely tied. And unfortunately, that's just the way the laws are set up. And I know everybody thinks police do whatever they want to do, but I can assure you we don't. I always tell the people we don't really have the stroke. I'll tell you who has the stroke, but these two fine folks over here that I've already mentioned to you, the judges. And we're just a small fish in a bigger pond, but unfortunately that is the case. What I would ask you to do is tell you to keep calling. And so after the meeting, if you don't mind, maybe we could get an address of where the problem is, not necessarily yours, but there's things we can do to put into effect and maybe make or affect a change. Yes, ma'am.
Any and all questions, please. Yes, yes, sir. We'll come back to you. Go ahead. Looking at you.
Sure. Two part questions. One is how do we identify blight? It's also identifying homes that are blighted. The second part is there a way to move properties through the blight process quicker? I can see taking those properties, the purchase of property quicker than 4 to 6 months reaching out to air.
Yeah, so first part, identifying blight, that's the survey I was mentioned earlier. So it's a very structured process. A bunch of yes/no questions, inspectors doing. When the survey information comes back, we have a one-page PDF on all the blighted property. So we have 7. It tells exactly what the blighted component is on each structure, and it gives a scoring component after that. What was the second question again? Make sure I got it.
Is it possible for, is there any type of, there any rules that you guys have proposed to maybe move along the process of quiet and tight?
Yeah, so there's
like 4 to 6 months.
Gotcha. So not that fast because there's no way we can get through the state legislature in 4 or 6 months. They're always going to have a year to 18 months, probably the shortest we can get down to. The system that Carl was describing earlier, where the property has to be 3 years tax delinquent, the state legislatures changed the rules a couple years ago, and the tax assessors can now sell property differently. So we're not going to have access to that unless we get another rule change on that next legislative session. So right now we have a backup plan, which is lien foreclosure. So when the city demos or secures a property, we can't foreclose those liens as a priority superior lien, and it clears the title, and that becomes a city-owned property as long as nobody buys a tax sale. That process is down to about 13 months.
Quick question. How many of you are interested in hearing more in-depth details on the neighborhood revitalization program and property purchase? All right, I'm going to ask the administration to set up a meeting solely with Jamie and pick a place, maybe the next 30 days. And we'll have it, and we'll make it district-wide, and we'll put it in a central location of the district. That way he can go through this in-depth with only that. So that way we don't encumber all the questions tonight. I'll get that together next 30 days. Does that work for y'all? Let's talk to me about it and see if we can find that. I promise y'all find a date the next 30 days.
But in the meantime, call that 6294 number. We can answer any of those questions one-on-one.
Any other questions? Well, let me go. She hadn't said anything all night from the very top. Go ahead. And I don't know your name yet.
We're after them. So back in May, we changed one of the regulations in the city. If you own rental property in the city, you're required to get a business license now. So if you don't have a business license, that's the first thing we check on a code violation, and we can actually shut down the business. When we do that, we're not going to kick somebody out of the apartment complex, but we're going to try to find another location for them to go to that's more appropriate than something with code violations.
Yes, ma'am.
The problem is not just cities.
Okay.
And thank you all for listening. But I have a problem. Totally losing. I want to know who do I need to talk to after calling this city 311 for almost 6 to 8 months now. My name is Martha.
She left.
Dublin Street.
Call me and I'll get it. I gave you my number earlier. Call me and I'll get it down the line.
I'm trying to have this taken care of before I call TV set.
Call me. I'll get on it and I'll get Kish on it. Any others? We're long on time. Yes, ma'am. I want to get out of here about before 8. Tennessee Street. Yes, ma'am. Any others?
Young lady right here, she has something. Yes, ma'am. So she has about checkpoints, and we do all the areas. So we typically do 2 to 4 locations, and so we are notorious for doing every single precinct. By law, we're supposed to. And that's what we do.
Any others?
Yeah, I got it. We were talking about the police department working with the school board. Are there any courses that are going to be taught in reference to conflict resolution for the children? That's one of the things. I worked at the bridge for a while, and they get it post doing whatever they did, but we have nothing on this side to kind of work with them and say, hey, don't do it like this.
Yeah, so we That's a great question. That's really the biggest problem that we have with a lot of gun violence is the lack of conflict resolution skills. And so we have a lot of strategic plans, probably 9 of them, but most of those are anywhere.
I want first let me thank the administration, the staff, Carla, the engineers, the council staff, the first precinct over here, the 2 judges, and all of you that have come out tonight to hear about the city. You're here because you care about what this city does and how this city acts. I am accessible to you at any time, even though my wife says I'm too accessible. Please call 24 hours a day or send me a text, and I will get back to you as quick as possible. I want to thank you all for coming out, and if there's any concerns that you have of any of us, please feel free to call, text, or email, and I'll see you all at the next community meeting.
Thank you.